On? Are we live?
It's going.
Yo! Sorry if I just blew out your eardrums. Howdy, hello. Welcome back. Are we on? Are we here? What's up, fam? Here we go. I think we are. Yo! Okay, awesome. I look like such a dork. Okay, welcome back to another Salmon Industries live stream. Today I'm your host. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only here until my college class starts. I teach college humans, some low-level mathematics at about 5:30. So I'll hang out for a little while because today's topic is JDMSTIVA V2. So, welcome back. We'll wait a little bit.
Said, "What? I'm deaf now."
I'm so sorry. We'll wait just a couple of minutes here before we get into the real nitty-gritty storytelling. So just pull up. What do they do in like kindergarten? Everybody has like a little carpet square. You get to your little carpet square. It's about to be story time. So get you some dinner.
Said, "Perfect timing. Just got off work."
Same here, brother. Somehow I stayed way too late. So I know I can leave at like 3:30, but whoever does. Like, what teacher actually leaves at 3:30? I do sometimes, but it's rare. So yeah, we just got a little bit of food. So get you a nice snack. And come on in. Let's get ready for some stories. This is probably my favorite live stream. Because I know the story of V2. And it's a fun one.
It's a
good deal. So today's focus is some more V2. Specifically, Will's gonna share with you the story of why this car, where did it come from? Where did it go? What happened to V1? I think that's included in this. Yeah. Well, it's just munching off screen. I'll share you my perspective of some V1 or V2 stories to try to get our timeline right. But yeah, that's the plan. So hop on in. Let's talk. That being said, let me go ahead and join the stream myself, because who really teaches the class? Was that really 10 years ago?
That picture, yeah.
No shot.
Actually, that picture might be closer to 9, but
Okay. Holy cow.
I went back and I got it like February 2015, so almost 10 years ago that I bought V1.
Wow. That's crazy. So, yeah, because I just saw the picture of us on the thumbnail. And I remember that picture. I think that was Festiva?
Mm-hmm.
Which was our first meet ever, Will and I. Pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first year we went to Festiva, we went to Madness. I don't remember if Ohio Festiva was a thing at that point. If it was, it wasn't like... I don't think it was Tommy's Ohio Festiva. I think maybe that was the next year. Anywho. Okay.
Well, you know the beginning story. You can tell it pretty well.
Yeah, so to give Will a little bit more time to eat, here's the story as I know it. Okay? Which I only kind of know it because, 10 years? Really? 10 years ago? So, Will's just a young buck anyway. And most people that know Will, he's got an old soul. So when people would be asking him for advice on these cars, people would just assume he bought it brand new as a kid, which is just not true. Will bought his first Festiva, JDMSTIVA V1, He bought his first Festiva almost 10 years ago now.
And I have a Snapchat of the day we got it.
Yeah.
So I should be able to find the date on that Snapchat.
Yeah, so insert
I've actually got some
Snapchat
of those,
video now.
I've got some on an SD card. I meant to play some of these when I get a chance.
Yeah. So,
March 21st, 2015.
March
So,
21st, 2015.
So we're 3 months out from 10-year anniversary.
That's crazy. 3 months, 10. Wow. That is kind of insane. Really kind of wow. I'm sorry. My brain's just like broken.
Yeah, too old, too young.
We were so young. Like, holy cow, we were just a bunch of babies. I think about that sometimes. So, Will and I got together his and my sophomore year of high school. So I knew him prior to Festivas. And then
sounds like ADBC over here.
yeah.
Pre-Festiva.
Pre-Festiva Will Santa. Yeah, exactly. I knew him pre-Festiva. And at that time, heck, when we first started dating, you didn't even have a driver's license. And he avoided getting a driver's license because he knew he would have to drive his sisters around. And he's, the worst brother. I mean, yeah, holler in the chat. I'm sure. No, anyway. So he didn't even have a license. He eventually got his license and he was driving his Chevy S10. Picture here. You've probably seen it on the channel already. If you haven't, then I think we did like we're doing this full-time video or something outside. And so there's a good picture of Will outside and he goes through the whole fleet, car by car. And so I think that was right after he had just painted his new S10. Anyway, so he was driving the S10. He was getting like 9 miles to the gallon because it's an LT1 swapped S10 and it just wasn't cutting it. By the time we both graduated high school, we were still together, obviously. And I was going to school in Champaign-Urbana. Go Big Ten. ILL. Anyone? ILL? I in the chat. Thank you. My goodness. Anyway, he was driving back and forth. He was driving back and forth a bunch from where we host Harvestiva in this tiny, tiny town, 50 minutes away, almost an hour. And going to Champaign all the time to come see me or going to Danville to go to work. And so when you live in the middle of corn, everything is so far away. That being said, Will at one point said, I gotta get something to save on some gas. Like I'm driving to work just to basically pay for my gas to get to work. I remember him saying that. And so I remember that weekend he was looking at a couple of different cars online and he was kind of torn between Metro and so a Geo Metro or Ford Festiva.
And so before I even really had an appreciation for old 80s shit boxes and hatchbacks and stuff.
Yeah,
at the time I didn't like the S10 because it was an old truck. I liked it because it was the truck my dad built when I was a kid. It did the family and it was fast. It wasn't because it was old, it was because it was really cool. Because it was cool because it was fast, not because it was old.
Yeah.
At the time I didn't really care about old cars.
Said, what? If it ain't Wolfpack, I'm lost, LOL.
I don't know what Wolfpack is. So yeah, at that point, he hadn't had like a real appreciation yet for these little tiny cars, these 80s cute things. But he needed something, cheap. He needed something that would have great gas mileage. And I told him, you get a Festiva, you get to be festive all the time. So I think there were other things that contributed to the decision, but ultimately he got his first Festiva, JDMV1. And like almost instantaneously found this community.
Said, NCSU.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense now. So yeah.
Here's the SD card. Here's the video, the day one.
Oh yeah, can you show them that? Is that a thing?
Rick Roberts said,
there.
I wanted a clean Omni GLHS but ended on a Festiva, then found out about the Shogun. then found Shogun is not the answer, lol.
What a process.
So yeah, that's
Oh, you're going
10
infinity,
years
babe.
ago me
Babe.
getting my Festiva.
Oh, is that old?
There's a huge delay for 4K.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, yeah, we're 4K today, brothers. Yo, how cute is that boy? Look at that. He's so proud. Just wait for the little smirk at the end. Yeah, you see a little. That's Will Samet right
They're not
there.
seeing any of that. They're actually seeing all of my old Snapchats right now.
I think it'll load eventually, right? Yeah, sorry for the infinite loop here. We've got Will on the 1s and 2s, as some call it. Snapchat was so fun.
I didn't like prepare a slideshow or anything. Hey, look, there's V1 and my S10 together.
Kids still use Snapchat to this day. You and this infinite loop.
Yeah, look at that. That's way old. That's 4 minutes ago, what you're seeing. If you want to comment, you gotta comment what's over here.
Oh, okay. So, here's a couple more pictures for you. So this is his first Festiva, along with his first S10. You can even see in the S10 wheel well right now, just the rust getting at it. Like, ugh, this poor guy. But
before I modify it, this is
super cute, super red.
Untouched Festiva.
Yes, this is V1 in its original glory. And by glory, I mean, did you see the black? Did you see the black rhino liner? So when Will went to go pick this up, as the story goes, when he went to go pick this up, it was pitch dark, wasn't it?
Yes.
Him and his cousin Andrew, great guy.
8 p.m. in the middle of March.
Yeah, so middle of March. I think at that point it's still daylight savings time, and so it's already dark by 8 p.m.
Birds said, "We see Wernby."
Work MBE.
Rick Roberts
Workbench. Oh yeah, you're on the wrong
pressed
camera.
the wrong button.
Workbench.
Oh, he's on the wrong camera. Sorry, Rick. Thank you. See, this is why we need good students paying attention like you.
Said, "All I'm seeing is the parts table," said, but
we
relieved
gotta get
face.
them that picture.
Yes.
You need multiple monitors, babe.
This is.
Yeah, but it's not
Look,
enough.
there's the S10
Here we go.
and V1.
Here's the S10. Here's V1.
There's
the rust bubble. My goodness. Look at that V1. But do you see that, like,
There's
sick tint?
all the black bottom, all the rhino liner hiding all the rust.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, so it wasn't till morning, I don't think, before... This was... I don't know. Were you obsessed with flashlights by this point, too, or...
Well, so we had it... I had a flashlight, but it, like... we'd never driven manual before.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I'd driven an old F-250 dump truck manual, which was not really comparable. And that was in dirt. It was just in the field. Beyond that, I'd never driven manual. So I was trying to teach myself manual on a Festiva that didn't really idle.
Yeah.
In a town an hour and a half away that I'd never been in the dark.
He had other concerns than rust at that time.
I asked the guy to give us a test drive. He said, "I can't. I have a DUI. But you and your buddy are welcome to go drive it around." At this point, I'd had my license for 2 years.
So you're going to put it back on his?
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but okay. So we drove it around.
Yeah, totally crazy. Or maybe it wasn't even 2 years at that point having your license. Whoa, infinite. So yeah, got it home. I think finally assessed it. Thought, wow, these are fun. But it was another couple years or so before this show.
Because we bought it plain. It didn't become JDMSTIVA until we made it.
Yeah. We'll slowly but surely pieced things together. You gotta do something about that infinite loop, brother.
You can't. I can't. You just have to deal with it.
Okay. Just deal with it, guys.
So, like the first thing we did was put the sub, or first thing I did was get the speakers working. Before you had the car working, I put my subs that I had for a long time in it.
Are you sharing that part?
That's the first thing that we had to fix because the guy who completely did the bearings wrong. So basically, I splitted my bearings bay in the back before seizing themselves to the spindle.
Lovely.
Hang on, getting too far ahead of this there. There we go. So I started doing all the JDM mods. I really liked the Bosusuko style culture stuff from all these JDM hatchbacks I was looking at. So like the sticker bond fender, external oil coolers, all the lights and lift kit and stuff. So that's what I was trying to emulate with the car. So I had the angry eye headlights.
Oh, yeah.
All the lights were tinted way too dark. The tail lights, the headlight, or the tail lights, the corner lights, and even the turn signals to a degree had overspray on them. So the oil cooler was completely fake. That's a evaporator from a tractor for an AC system.
Said, yummy.
S10 lit mod. That's the very first one I did before I made the write-up and guide for it. LED headlights that were terrible. The only way I got any distance was by putting on these massive spotlights to make up for it. All these fall pictures of it.
Slayer said, Festiva.
Oh, dude, Goaty!
And
Go back to Carmen.
there's a good snow picture.
Not
So
Carmen.
there's the exhaust we did, so super dark tail lights.
Roberts
The giant sticking out
said,
exhaust.
I cried when the grill died. Rick Roberts
Me too.
Didn't we
said,
all?
Rip.
Didn't we all?
So yeah, both the Zuko style exhaust. I angled it as much as I could, but still opening the hatch. Tail lights seems way too dark. Over the years, I finally found an OEM spoiler that I painted charcoal gray to match the other parts I had. An $18 roof rack from the junkyard. Actually found my steering wheel before I had V2. I had that steering wheel in V1 before it ended up in V2. Yeah, that kind of started the JDM mods. And yes, I'm sure you all saw when I was flicking through it too fast earlier, but I had an insanely rare grill for it. It's a German-made Mazda 121 post-air grill, so it converts it to a 121 front end with quad round headlights. One of like 3 in the world, and I lost it in an accident when I lost V1. Somebody pulled out in front of me, and I T-boned them. And those pictures aren't in here, and I'm not going to go find them because I don't like looking at it. If you're interested, though, I did post about the accident on the Facebook group. I'm sure if you search my old post, you can find it. But, yeah, I could talk and tell stories about V1 and the rust and the shenanigans for 17 years. The main idea, though, is that it was too rusty for the road. I kept driving it anyway because I was a broke boy and annoying. However, to get V2 started, what actually happened was I was parked in the driveway just to the left where this picture was taken, and my mom somehow didn't see it and backed into me. So you can see here the gas tank where this big piece of trim is bent. That's where my mom ran into me with, I think, her Jeep at the time, maybe the Cavalier. Either way, backed into me, and she said, hey, sorry, I ran into your car today, but I will pay for it. I was like, there's no way you could pay for it because it's too rusty to fix. No body shop would touch that. And I think in her head, to get a car fixed from a dent like that was in the range of like a couple $100s. I told her to fix something like that, especially how much rust it had, would be a couple thousand. She said, oh, wait, no, I can't do that. So I said, if I find a rust-free shell, would you pay for half of that, and I'll do all the swapping stuff myself, which she agreed to, which led to the big hunt for a new shell, and that's how I ended up with this. This rust-free shell with a bad V3 I bought for $150.
Said, I've got a German 121 fog light grill.
Yeah, the built-in fog light 121 grill is a very rare OE plus dealer type option. I'm getting one here soon, and hopefully I can scan that. There you go. This is JDMSTIVA V2 before it got built and painted and such. So it was a rust-free shell with a bad V3, a very dented roof, but otherwise fairly straight. I paid $800 for that, drove all the way to Missouri to go buy it, and then brought it home.
Well, this was after you've taken off a bunch of things too, right? Like this is not how you picked it up.
Correct. This is after I started sanding it for paint.
Yeah.
It came with the bumper and stuff. It's not necessarily in great shape. The interior was there, but not installed in the car. If I can find it, I have a picture of.
Did I help you pick up that car? Missouri?
Once. We went twice. I went to go see it, and I went to go buy it.
Which is kind of what happened with the Aqua too.
If I can find it. Oh, hey, look, there's the other pictures of the S10 and V1 together.
Cuties.
Before I actually bought plastic dip, I made the Angry headlight mod with duct tape. So if you look close, that is actually black duct tape making the angry eyes.
Yeah, really cute.
And I really was a punk 16-year-old car owner back then.
You really were.
Terrible. Let's see if it's in here or not. But I did find the Craigslist ad. I found in the way back machine. I found the Craigslist ad for V2 prior to modifying it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was able to actually do like some before after pictures of modified V2 versus
Well,
the
that's
day
cool.
it was listed. Whether they're on this folder or not, I don't know. So pardon me as I scroll. I don't want to bore people too much just watching me go through 10 billion pictures of mine.
Yeah, lots of great prep.
I just knew that if I transferred at least these files over to an SD card, I would have them somewhere. You know what? Is there a folder in here called layout? I don't see layout. Instagram, maybe?
So many cars.
Oh, there it is. It was like before after, but there we go.
What?
There is the picture from the Craigslist ad of V2. That's how it looked when I got it. It was a 93 Cayman L. That's when it had added a passenger mirror too. That was it. Otherwise, it was already Aspire swapped. It has an Aspire rear beam, Aspire front sway bar, Aspire automatic brakes all the way around. It was like that when I bought it, just not running. The V3 that was in it was leaking oil profusely.
Birds said, pretty sure I saw a dick pic.
Doubtful, unless it was in Snapchat, in which case it was drawn on.
Yeah, Snapchat drawing just basically became
said, when I die, I hope no one goes through my SD cards.
You gotta hide that stuff better.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Okay. So back to now then. So yes. Oh, I lost V1 in an accident. Somebody pulled out in front of me, and I T-boned them, and therefore also lost the grill.
Kept as many turning parts left on a red situations.
Yeah. So kept as many of the parts as I could that were like savable or usable, not rusted to nothing, and then started building V2, which obviously we have here now.
But that V1 lasted you a long time. Like that was like, wasn't V1 in our wedding picture? So that was at least 5-6 years. No,
our wedding was only 2 years after I got V1.
Only 2 years.
2017, right?
You got it in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was longer. But yeah, I guess 2 years and then plus whenever it finally died. Do you remember when it died?
2018.
2018. So 3 years. For how rusty it was.
It should have been scrapped before I bought it. The day I bought it actually should have been thrown away.
Like, based on how rusty it was. Like, literally, there would be, anytime it rained, like, your carpet would get wet because...
Yes.
There was just no metal in between you and... Like, it almost became the Flintstones car.
Yeah, there's pictures on the Facebook group of me doing my, I'll put it in loose quotes, rust repair.
Yeah.
I had taken a video at one point of the rust and how bad it was. Of course, for me to actually find it would be almost impossible on the fly.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It's out there somewhere.
So the fact that it lasted you 3 years and you didn't like die in that accident is pretty remarkable. Like, it's not like you were going crazy fast or anything. It was...
No, it held up really well.
It did. It really did. And we still have that front grill. It's just in pieces, waiting for resurrection someday. Scanning and printing or something.
Yeah, we saved all the pieces.
Yeah. So nothing, and that's moved with us everywhere. So it's a matter of time and money and all of the other projects getting done. So
while I try to find that,
said, hashtag salt loaf.
Dude, so for real though, like that's part of why we moved out of Illinois, because the salt is so bad. And now in Lexington, Kentucky, they salt the river twice. Hopefully that's not too loud. I don't know if that's loud.
Oh, here, I found that video. Actually, I found it faster than I thought I would.
Wow, impressive.
This is the underside of V1. So this is starting the front. So that's actually the front corner. That's basically missing there. There's the front tire. The front corner of the car basically gone. That's all the carpet right in here. So that's where my backpack would get soaking wet. Because it's identical on the passenger side. My backpack would sit on the floor. If I drove through the rain. It soaked straight through the carpet into my backpack. The floor is completely detached all the way back. That's supposed to be the inner frame. This is where the rear beam mount
That's
sits.
foam?
Yeah, that's the foam. I put some foam in it just to try to keep the water out. I know it holds salt, but at that point it's too late. I just need to keep more and more water
Bill Taylor
out of the thing.
Oh my god.
said, "Oof."
Yep, and there's straight up into the gas filler. So, yeah, there's a good underside video of
That's
the
so
V1,
bad.
which is crazy. It had that much rust since day one. It's always had that much rust. But I managed to put lipstick on a pig and make it look good in pictures I took of it. Everybody
Yeah,
was
people thought that
surprised.
thing was so good.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, it's
And I'm
got
like,
some
it's
rust, but it
literally
looks cool.
trash.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, so V2 was rust free, but needed engine stuff done to it, and I wanted it painted because Cayman green is actually my least favorite Festiva color.
I like it. I don't know why you're always hating on it.
I don't like it. I don't like Cayman green, especially like on camera. It always looks blue. To get it actually
I gotta go
it's
get
slightly
set up
greenish
for my
is almost impossible.
I love it. I think it's cool.
The V1 sat waiting for paint for like a year, so I wasn't really planning on, like, it was a very slow burn project, and then V1 getting totaled was like the
Yeah.
push for like, okay, well now I need to get it on the road. Like we need to get it running.
Yeah, because at that point we had what, 3 cars?
Yeah.
We had the RX-8, the Cavalier, and V1. And so I was then driving the RX-8 everywhere. Will then started driving the Cavalier everywhere. And so we needed just in case.
I think
you
V2
know?
might have been. I think it was painted by then. I think the paint was done before the accident.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I have a picture of me driving V1 behind the painted V2.
Oh,
Somewhere in that
okay.
folder, matter of fact. But yeah, paint took like 9 months, and it's not a very good job.
It was
This guy's like had like some deal going on. Some local guy said he'd paint anybody's whole car for like $800. I told him I also needed the inside painted because on Festiva you don't have your trim doesn't cover anything, so your body color has to match the doors and the hatch area. So he said he'd do the whole car for $1,000. I told him, like, all right, sounds great. I picked out a really cool, really bright metallic red that I wanted done in. I wanted to do yellow, but I knew I'd feel bad.
Blasphemy Cayman is cool.
Cayman is
It's
cool.
okay
It's
on
one
the
of my
right car.
favorites.
I like an Escort GT in Cayman, but not a Festiva.
I gotta go teach some college kids, but this has been fun. If he starts lying to you, just let me know and I'll come back out. I'll correct him. Get it all on record. Have fun, friends.
I was gonna do yellow one because yellow is my favorite color, but I knew I would feel weird inside because yellow's so rare. I didn't want to do a fake yellow. I wanted to someday own a real yellow, not fake it and paint over it. All my stuff from V1 was like red themed. I had a red striped steering wheel. I had like the red lug nuts and all the red interior pieces here and there. So I wanted to keep it red, make all my parts and stuff match still. So and I told him I don't mind like using Bondo and stuff. I said, but please try to metal work the roof where it's like really wavy, and then also please do not use body filler on the wheel arches because I need to roll those later. And then I also had him paint all the fenders.
Said, by Michelle, be safe.
Oh, she'll be having a great time, I'm sure. So that fender is, all those stickers are hand done. So I laid all those on there by hand. It's like 110 stickers all stacked. It's got 4 coats of clear coat over it to hold them on. And I actually have a paint match fender to replace it. So I actually had him paint the whole car.
Said, your car and my car went to body at about same time. I just got mine back in spring, LOL.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Seems like finding a good paint person is a rare task these days. It's insane. So in the end, it took him like 10 months. He didn't use the color I asked for at all. He just picked the first red metallic color he had already mixed on the shelf instead of the color I picked out. So this is actually Chrysler Inferno Red Metallic. So it's the same color used in like Dodge Challengers and stuff of the 2018, 2017 era. Which nowadays I don't mind it. It's kind of nice to have like a more maroon crimson color that really turns bright red in the sun. I kind of appreciate it, but at the time I was really annoyed that he didn't do the color I asked for. The roof still has a ton of pinholes from Bondo, and I'm sure it's starting to crack already in a couple spots because it was way too thick. So someday I'll have to pay attention to the roof a bit more. The back end, the paint is actually flaking off where he didn't sand around the rubber seal. I asked him to pop the back glass out to paint around it like fully, so just taping off the seals. He didn't. He just taped off the seals, didn't sand very well. So the paint's actually flaked off like an inch around the back window. And there's Bondo all over the wheel wells. So when I finally started rolling the fenders, some of it started to chip off, and then after like a year, it actually just came off a big chunk. So the big lip all the way around the back wheel on this side that is full of Bondo chipping off. So that was lame. So yeah, the paint needs readdressed at some point, but it is what it is. It's got Mitsubishi 3000 GT seats in it / Dodge Stealth, same thing. I made mounts for those seats. It's some of my favorite seats put in the Festiva. It's got my harness in it. It's got a harness bar that I modified. Nate helped me with that. It's an NRG like 4-point harness bar that goes down to the bottom and leans back behind your head so you can still tilt the seat back. It has black carpet in it. It's got the door speakers. It's got my Pioneer stuff in it. It's still got my sub in it. Instead of the two big 12s, it's got a single comp R in the back. I did a bunch of sound deadener, a whole bunch of other stuff to it. I mean, the mod list that it already has is intense, and someday I'll go through that whole list. I don't know if I'm going to go through it today because it's just going to be me talking to the camera for an hour, as it is. Tossed the old grill and put on, this is a new aftermarket Carby grill, back when those were still available because I don't like the EFI grills as much. You'll see that I'm actually missing my eyeliners, little metal pieces that go under here. That's because those get deleted when you switch to a 121 grill, which is always the goal, but I never put them back on. Still, the long-term goal will be to put the 4 quad headlight 121 grill back on it once I get it done. Has my first iteration of LED turn signals. These are trailer lights, actually 2x6, like infinity mirror trailer lights. They're crazy bright. They're clear when off, and they're amber when they blink. The S10 lip got put back on. I painted all the bumpers like a satin black. I think I might do color match bumpers at some point. I'm not sure yet. Obviously, all my exhaust mods and the fake oil cooler on there. I don't know if I'll be doing the fake oil cooler again or not. I kind of want to. I like to live up to its heritage. We are doing the exhaust again, though. I don't know how many people saw the stream the other day, but we do have I'm switching over to a carbon fiber Yoshimura pipe. So instead of the big stainless muffler that I had on it before, we're going to have this beautiful carbon fiber, same position, mounted on the bumper, pointing up stuff. So it's very, very build appropriate to have Japanese text on otherwise American market car, American market muffler. I like the small details like that. But this was mostly just a car, like it was supposed to be a good driver. This was still, like when I built this, like, even though it's only 2018, I actually assembled and put this thing on the road. I still was like a broke college student at the time. So doing cool stuff to it, like suspension and engine stuff, was really on the cards. The seats I swapped in, I got this for $10 a seat. So that was a great deal, and it worked fantastically. I had Volkswagen Golf GTI wheels that I had hand restored and painted
said
gold.
Obnoxious, just say it.
Obnoxious, maybe. I mean, the old stuff was too loud for sure. Like it sounded bad. It was loud and it sounded bad. This system should have. I mean, the turbo itself will quiet down, and a resonator shall tune it down, so it should sound good and a bit louder, but not bad. I hope. There's a bunch of other stuff I did inside, and a bunch of other exterior stuff as well. Obviously, at some point, I ended up getting coilovers, and then this was one of the first cars I did TB Vecchi stuff on. For those who don't know, TB Vecchi is like the precursor to the Rev 9 stuff we're using now. It's like the older, cheaper eBay brand from China that lets you do adjustable coilovers that are a lot shorter, which allowed us to use the caster camber plates, which this car was one of the first street cars to test out the caster camber plates. Which is why I had to switch to TB Vecchis. I had caster camber plates on the original advanced dynamic suspension, and it just doesn't have any travel at all at lower ride heights, so I had to swap back or swap over to something new. So this is still on that stuff. It'll still be 3 powered. I bought these wheels new. These are Rota Hunter 15x7 plus 35s, which work out to a very, very good fitment with the Aspire swap. I was really trying to dial in the fitment, and this thing was like fender to lip at full low, which was really nice. I started to not like the wheels as much over time. The dark bronze got kind of like too dark, and they look a little off sometimes in the right light, or I guess the wrong light. But I have new wheel plans for it. We'll talk about that closer to time when I go to install them. But that was it. So I was daily driving it like that for many thousands of miles. It was like I took it on track at Festiva Insanity. I did like an actual like road course at IND Motorsports Ranch out in Arizona with this thing. multiple autocrosses with this on the street tires. It still has the old Economist on it that we used to be able to get easily, but still B3 powered. So just really handled really good suspension. Had a Kia Rio rack, so much tighter steering ratio. Custom pedals, a very custom shifter setup, which we'll get into more when we go to the interior shots later. But yeah, that was it. Still B3 powered. And then I bought a very crusty, terrible B6T from Canada, which I think I have pictures of the day that I picked it up on here. If we can switch over to those, let me see if I can open that. Go infinite mode again. So yeah, this was the B6T I bought. I bought it from a member in Canada. He was gracious enough to meet my parents at like the northern border, and they brought it home down to Central Illinois, all the way from Canada. But yeah, it looks like it's ended its life in the bottom of the ocean. It was incredibly rusty everywhere. I mean, like I have more pictures of it somewhere in this card. Maybe if I can scroll through, I'll find some of them. There's those GTI wheels I was talking about, the ones I got refinished, or not got refinished, the ones that I refinished, all hand painted. Steering wheel stuff, dog RX-8, goats. Ah, yes, there was the. That was how the clutch looks. So that was me cleaning the trans. That's wire wheel on the left versus how it started on the right. There is what the clutch looked like when I took the transmission off. Very, very gross. Another shot of the flywheel here, just to give you an idea of how the condition was kind of sitting in. All of these are very out of order compared to how I view them on my phone. I think that's all I have of on this folder, at least. So that was cheap. It was like, I think I paid $400 or $500 for the whole setup. So that was engine, trans, ECU, axles, wiring harness, like a full swap kit for B6T basically. That was actually out of a Canadian market, Mazda 323 GT. It's not quite Capri, but 323 GT setup from Canada. So I started all cleaning it by hand. I bought like 1,000 wire wheels for my Dremel and vinegar as an acid soak, and just started cleaning up each and every part by hand to try to get this thing to be a reasonable looking engine. And then, of course, I kept seeing all the sweet stuff Charlie was building, all of his B6D and B6T swap stuff, and just how much attention to detail and how clean it was. And then talking to him and John Glenn a lot about how to clean the stuff up and make it look presentable. And I wanted this car to be almost perfect. I still do. I'm trying to make this like the most perfect build I can make it. And the amount of effort it takes to get a car from like 30% good to 85% good is the same amount of effort it takes to get from 85 to 95. And the effort it takes to get from 95 to 100 is like double both of those. Like that last little bit of perfection always is the hardest, for sure, especially when you have no budget. So I kept trying to rebuild this thing bit by bit on a budget, and now you can kind of see it in the background here. There's plenty of pictures of this build online on my page or on the Facebook group from my old post. But the only thing on here that's not original is the valve cover and the block. Because I found a new block for $70 Miata I was tossing that had. Because actually, I literally couldn't use any of the mount holes on it from that block. It had gotten so bad that these had almost chipped off from rust on the bottom part here. Everything else on here is something I have cleaned by hand meticulously and then either repainted or like all the bolts, all the hardware on here are actually all the OEM bolts. I literally stripped them down to bare metal and sent them to a place to have them re-zinc coated. And I happened to know a guy from work at the time, and he said he could slip it in the next batch because they do it industrially. They do industrial coatings. He said he could probably do it for really cheap. He ended up being able to do it for free. So shout out to him for sure. But all these bolts are OEM recoated bolts, all brand new zinc on them, which is awesome. And they did it in yellow zinc, so I got all the gold bolts to match the red and gold theme I had going on. So that's why that took forever. And that engine, Steven helped me assemble that. I think this head got bolted down to this block almost 6 years ago, and it's still never seen the inside of that engine bay. That's how long this project has been like in the works. But since I want to make it perfect, I just never had the time to really spend on it. So it kept just sitting and sitting and sitting. I also just kept driving it. It wasn't until, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago now that I finally stopped driving it, and it still worked fine. I told myself I need to quit driving. It just drives so good. It was hard not to drive it. So I told myself as soon as the odometer hits 300,000, I'm going to park it and we're going to start working on it for real. Hashtag 2025 was the joke among all of my friends' Festiva group. By 2025, he'll maybe have that car done. So I parked it. The odometer is currently sitting at 299.9 something, like 299.995, I believe. So 5 miles off my 300K goal. I drove it to where it sits now. I parked it and pulled the battery out, and that was it. It sat. And then I went back to school to finish my degree, and then got a real job. And life's too busy, so I didn't touch it. We actually ended up pulling the engine and transmission because when I did the B6D swap guide, we blew up the first transmission on accident, and he needed a replacement engine like ASAP. So I told him if he goes back here in the corner, he can pull this transmission out. He'll owe me one later, but we can use this one for now. So I ended up having like an emergency rapid engine removal, just so we have a spare trans to put into a different Festiva. And then besides that, nothing else has happened to it. It's been sitting here ever since, waiting for the day I could build it. And in that time, I keep changing the plan. So the plan was just to put a B6T in and just try to make it as clean as possible. And then I saw a bunch of sweet pictures online of cars with like shaved engine bays or like really cleanly wire tucked engine bays. I thought, while I had everything out, it'd be really cool to weld up all the extra holes and replace all the seam sealer, make it really smooth. And I thought, well, if I can learn to weld a bit better, I could probably actually start making delete panels and actually really smooth out the engine bay. I figured instead of just a wire tuck, I could probably make my own wiring harness, like just rewire it with the stock connectors once I found out that I can replace the pins pretty easily. And then I decided I should do aftermarket ECU because Speedino came out with their new drop bear ECU however many years ago that was. And I thought, oh, this is totally affordable. Like I can afford this and have a fully featured like top tier ECU. So I decided I'll go standalone, and I decided then I'll be making my own harness from scratch. So ground up, all new connectors, all new pins, all new wires, build my own harness for the engine. Since I'm building it myself, I could tuck it in really nicely, make the engine bay super clean. And then I realized I could do coil on plug conversion, so I went through all the parts to do that. And then after that, we found out that the stock elephant nose intake does not fit with the coil on the plug conversion. Pardon me for a second, my pump keeps beeping. I'm going to put it over here to charge. Anyway, so realized the intake wasn't going to fit with the coil and plug conversion. So over the past 2 years, I've been trying to design my own intake. I managed to score a JDM B6T intake for super cheap from a member who's no longer around. That was from Malaysia. He had found one and was like selling it with brand new powder coat for like dumb cheap with shipping. So I had that laying around waiting for this day. The B6T JDM intake is actually a 2-part plenum. I think I can zoom in and not lose too much quality now that we have this new camera. Let's give it a try real quick. See if I can zoom in on the engine. Be handy. Nice. Still has some quality to it. So here is the JDM intake. You can see, unlike the USDM one, where the turbo and the NA share the intake, the JDM intake has a full, like, equal length runners, sits a bit higher, and has the word turbo engraved in it. So the turbo logo and cooling fins are actually cast into it. I can pop this off because it's a 2-part plenum. So the lower runners and the upper plenum are actually 2 separate pieces that bolt together, much like the B3. The regular USDM intake does not do that. And then here you can see, I can tilt it to the camera, that sweet turbo engraving on top. Super sweet 80s stuff. So I realized I couldn't use stock intake with the coil and plugs. It would hit these 2 plugs and interfere. So I decided I wanted to design my own intake, or modify this one to have a side feed intake. So instead of the throttle body sitting on the front, in the middle, I could make it go to the side. And then I thought, if I'm going to do all that, I can run a bigger throttle body. So Charlie sent me a Miata BP, a later Miata BP throttle body that has a much larger a much larger opening. Oh, I don't want to do that. Hang on. Sorry, I'm still getting used to these new camera controls we have access to here. So I redesigned a new intake based around that plenum, or a new plenum designed on that throttle body. Prototype of which is somewhere around here. And then I decided just recently, as in like maybe 2 months ago, that I wanted to do drive-by-wire instead of cable throttle, because making your own throttle cable and somehow routing it cleanly into the car is not easy. It's a big, ugly wire. And like I said before, I'm trying to make the engine bay partially shaved and tuck every wire I can. So with an electronic throttle, you have a lot more tuning options. You have, in these days, instant response. There's no more like lag like you get from stock cars that use a really terrible drive-by-wire ECU setup. And it's a lot more compact. So I redesigned the intake again, and so now we have the second version here. I showed this on stream, I think, on Saturday, but there is my 3D printed test prototype. So this is like an exact replica of the stock one, just scaled up. This is a Bosch Motorsports drive-by-wire unit, and it's a full 2.5-inch throttle plate in there. So nice and beefy. Tons of intake plenum volume in here. This is a 2-part intake, so I can put that down for now. This is a 2-part intake, so it's split down the middle where there's an O-ring holding it together. I can split it right now. You can see the top half is actually ramped down so that your intake goes down to each runner evenly, like you would expect. There's the O-ring channel along the whole side. And then on the bottom side, we have smoothed intake runners here. I actually have 2 versions of this. One has a step right here so that you can actually add your own intake trumpets, so you can do post intake tuning. So in case the flow properties of this aren't exactly ideal, I can actually come back in here and add different size trumpets to this to actually tune the intake runner length, really mess with the torque curve and stuff. And this bolts together. On the bottom, you can see all the holes for all the cap screws that bolt the 2 halves together with the O-ring. And then on the bottom here is the factory bolt pattern for the intake. So that bolts straight to the stock intake, mounting our throttle body off to the side where we can keep it much more compact, and then kind of hide all of our boost tubing, all our intercooler tubing above the trans area. It's very slick. So a lot of stuff like that. More and more stuff where I couldn't leave well enough alone. And since I wasn't actually building it, who cares, right? It's not like I'm delaying the project any. The project hasn't started, so let's just keep adding more and more goals. Let's keep moving the goalpost. 1,000 feet further. And then I wanted to. I'm just trying to figure out get rid of the zoom here. And then I wasn't sure if I could even find an intercooler small enough for all this stuff. So Charlie recommended trying some methanol injection. So I got a methanol injection kit. And then I figured I should actually probably have an intercooler still at some size just in case anyway, in case forgetful me forgets to add methanol to the tank. I still won't blow the car up from having way too much intake temperature. So I've been on the hunt for a proper size intercooler. We've got methanol injection kit. And then I learned that the new Speedino can also as a controller for that methanol injection kit. So now my ECU can actually do methanol injection, like controlled via how much boost pressure I'm making. And then I decided I'm going to do a full digital custom dash. So I actually have a big screen. The entire dash is going to be on a screen that is like a copy of the stock Festiva dash. It'll look just like the Festiva tack cluster, but with additional gauges for things like AFR and like a digital speedometer and boost level. And I have it all in an old school 80s font, so it looks very era appropriate. Basically what Mazda would have done to make a digital dash for a Festiva was my goal. So I have that for the screen. A lot of you saw recently, either on YouTube or on Facebook, my project to make my own gauge cluster for a gauge pod for boost and AFR. So I did that project. It's all housed in a Game Boy to keep that 90s aesthetic theme I have going on. That was another big project. Again, a huge side project. Definitely did not need to do that. I could have just gone and bought a normal gauge like a normal human. I decided I had to make it all different again. The recurring theme once again. Then I realized I can do boost control through the ECU. So now we're wiring in a boost solenoid that the ECU will control. And since we have an electronic speedometer, we will also have boost by gear enabled. So we will be doing the math with our transmission setup so that we can see what gear we're in based on the RPM and speed we're going, which the ECU can read. And then we can actually vary our boost by gear. So I can have a low boost in first to do a launch and not spin tires constantly. And the second you hit as soon as you hit second gear, you can turn the boost back up. And then third, fourth, fifth, full boost application, which would be super cool. And then I want to do the brake upgrade, so I went ahead and got a Miata brake booster. So NB Miata brake booster is a great mod to really help your pedal feel, and it's nearly bolt-in. You just have to extend the clevis, which not a big deal. I'll be doing a guide on that, or we'll be doing that on stream, whichever, to help show you guys how to do it. And then I decided that 180 horsepower with this aftermarket ECU was enough. We had a ton of headroom to do more with the ECU. So we decided to go for a big turbo upgrade. So now we got rid of the stock turbo, and we have a Garrett GT2554 from a Mazda Speed Protege, which is a fantastic upgrade for B6T. And although this is stock bottom end, with that turbo and with our tuning capabilities, we should be able to hit 220 or more horsepower on E85, no problem. So that's going to be super exciting to do. And then that leads us into the E85 portion of that sentence. I decided now that we have the ability to do like a flex fuel tune, we should do that. So we're going flex fuel. So now we have to add a flex fuel sensor, and we have to have a secondary map for E85. That means all of our lines have to go because it need to be E85 compatible. The stock stuff is not. So we went with full AN line. So now I'm doing an AN line conversion for the fuel system front to back, and a high flow pump to match and high flow injectors to match, which required making little tiny adapters to get these new injectors to fit B6T JDM manifold, and a bunch of weird fittings so that it actually plugs into the stock fuel rail. There's like a billion things like this.
Said, are you planning on running the 3D printed upper plenum or going to get that CNC? I'd be afraid with heat.
No, it's going to be a CNC billet piece. Nate actually already has material. I already bought the pieces of aluminum to make it, and Nate's going to help me machine that out. But yeah, no, the 3D printed one would not hold up. You could, if I printed it out of like some really fancy material, like if I went with carbon fiber impregnated nylon, there's a good chance that would survive. But the cost to have stuff printed in CF nylon properly and not peel up at all with no supports is like absurdly high, and I wouldn't have to be able to like polish it and paint it like I want to. So it's only a little bit more money to have it made in billet at this point anyway. So no, it'll be all billet, and it'll be powder coated like this one, just like the stock one. So it's going to have red letters, polished fins, and then the rest of it will be black wrinkle coated powder coat. There's a ton of other stuff on that shelf too. We're doing like an air oil separator. The JDMSTIVA and some European countries actually got a factory air oil separator from Mazda.
X said, what about a K-car intercooler?
The problem with the K-car intercoolers is like it's not easily obtained in the U.S. Overseas, yeah, you can find that stuff easily. In the U.S., for me to buy a used intercooler from a K-car means you have to have somebody either shipping it from Japan or having dismantled a rare turbo K-car in the States. So that stuff's not cheap. So it's not really worth using for me since it's expensive and used. Small intercoolers are still available. It's just finding the right type of small. I ideally like one that's really thin and long to fit in the bumper, or something small like in side mount. So I've been going through. I've actually got options here already. We talked about it a bit yesterday. The one I'm looking to the most right now is a PT Cruiser, as in like the GT, so the 2.4 liter turbo, same as the Neon. So the PT Cruiser GT has a really nice front mount. It's thin, it's not too tall, and it's got super thick cast aluminum ends. So you can see there, that's a pretty decent size. That should fit pretty well in the bumper, or even up at an angle next to the radiator. And then we've got one outlet that points straight up or down, depending on what orientation you have it in. And then the other outlet points down and back a little bit, as you can see there. If I get a little close to the camera, it's super thick cast aluminum end caps, though. So it's going to be really easy to take these and TIG weld my own pieces on there.
I think I have some tiny Audi ones or MX-61.
Yes, I also have a baby Audi one in here. I put it back over there somewhere. The Audi one is a little more annoying because the factory Audi ones come with plastic end caps. So to modify it, I need to weld my own end caps on and then weld pipes to those end caps. Again, not impossible, just a matter of what's actually worth it and what's not. So there's my Audi one. So this is an Audi / Volkswagen 1.8T. I got this one for $20. I paid $15 for that other one over there. So like I said, I get these stuff cheap. and that's a great size to do next to the radiator. It's like with methanol injection and this, I should stay cool, no problem. But you can see these use silly little quick connect like adapters from Volkswagen that I don't want to deal with. And to make new end caps would be more welding and TIGging that I don't have the capability of doing. Steven's been helping me out with my TIG stuff. I'm very thankful for that, but there's no need to give him extra work if I don't have to. There's other universal ones that work really well. Steven and Nate have been looking at using like R53 Mini Cooper ones. They're about this size, and they've got big oval ports, which don't really work with our stuff. But the Chinese ones are actually thicker than the stock ones. And once again, if you can TIG, it's really easy to block off that factory fat oval and weld new pipes in whatever orientation you want for keeping it nice and small like this. So yeah, there's a lot of options. But before I can play with it, I really need to get the radiator mounted. And before I get the radiator mounted, I need to do the core support mod. Like I said, this thing's untouched. So like the core support mod is not done. The engine bay is not even fully empty yet. The engine bay is not even painted. It still came in green in there. The AC stuff was like aftermarket, not dealer. It's actually aftermarket AC that really didn't fit in here. I tried to remove it and it just broke, so I had to cut it all out, like with a saw. So there's still like the holes from the AC are still there. I taped over to keep the rain out temporarily. The old brakes are all still in there. The old fuel filter stuff. My terrible sub wiring that I want to redo is still in there. So the whole engine bay still needs emptied. I was going to do that today on stream, but I probably shouldn't because I have to do some design work tonight to fix. I finally fixed my big 3D printer. I broke it on Friday. I fixed it this morning. I need to get some stuff running on that. So I probably won't empty out the engine bay today like I wanted to. But, you know, that's life. Stuff like that's what's keeping me from getting this car done. I keep running into, the small roadblocks that keep you from finishing a project. But yeah, there's a lot of options. I just need to get this thing started so I can start playing with it. I need to start actually making mounts because this car I'm going to test the mounts on. The mounts that I plan on selling in the store long term and eventually. We talked about some of those before. Actually, I can go ahead and switch to a new camera view real quick. Get all my trash off this table. This is a new camera. I just bought this morning, looking for 1440p. And as you can see, A, there's some annoying black lines on the screen, and B, the lighting's not very good. It kind of overblows stuff. Like you can't read the text on here because it's just blown out because it's white. But at any rate, here's some of the parts we've been trying to put on this thing. So this is the turbo we were talking about earlier. That is a GT2554 with an imported turbo elbow from a Nissan Pulsar GTIR. I talk about that a lot more depth on my video called Turbo Time. So I totally recommend y'all go check it out on YouTube. It's already been published. There's the Miata brake booster in the back. All of these are connectors and wires and bits and bobs to make my wiring harness. So we've got Raychem DR25 equivalent mil spec heat shrink. We have brand new loom from Fish Dog, I believe. A bunch of Denso connectors to make our own connectors made up with Festiva stuff. A bunch of connectors for all the sensors we're using. Connectors for our coil on plug stuff. Extra pins. Some Deutsch connectors. Stuff that needs to be more waterproof or watertight. We've got the E85 conversion pump. We did that on stream the other day. That's on our ready to go. A8 fittings already on there. The ECU itself is here now with its connectors. I've been ordering all the custom size silicone joiners we need. So this is the right size silicone to go from the throttle body to the intercooler piping. I've got another one to go from the turbo to the intercooler pipe. And then one more that goes from this size inlet to a size up for the intercooler piping. So that way we can keep it 2.5 inch all the way through. Keep it nice and simple. Anything else important up here? Oh yeah, more of the fittings for the A&N stuff. I actually just added a few of them to my fuel rail. I was testing that this morning. It's looking pretty good. We got a blow-off valve. Now that I'm not using the VAF, I can actually do a blow-off valve. That one's a cheap Chinese clone, but it actually sounds exactly how I want my blow-off valve to sound, so I'm going to run that one. Steven ran that on his B6T for a while. That's how I know it sounds like how I want. Here's our A&N line. So this is PTFE with black sleeving. So this will be fully E85 proof, along with a ton of fittings to make that work. All sorts of fun stuff. So a whole lot needs to be done in this car. And then the interior is not done. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but since I've been driving V2, I never actually finished the door cards. I have custom cloth to redo the seats and the same custom cloth to match to do my own custom door cards. I did a custom headliner and stuff. I did a manual seatbelt conversion, so it's the harness on the driver's side, which you can see through the window there. And then for the passenger side, I actually have a like an exact match maroon colored seatbelt, which is really cool. But there's no door cards, there's no rear carpet, there's no rear panels. I deleted the rear seat brackets, and I bought plastic to make my own panels. I still haven't done it yet, so the interior needs finished. Door cards need finished. The trim around the seatbelts after the manual conversion needs put back on, drilled through and stuff. I've got a big custom wink mirror that I bought. You can kind of see it on the dash, the 5-panel mirror. Got a new one of those. I'm 3D printing my own brackets where it fits exactly where the sun visors used to go. I still need to do that. I need to put the headliner back in. I'm trying to wire it up so the sub is actually the quick release. So I'm going to have a big 5-way plug with power that goes into the rear panel. So if I'm ever doing autocross or going to the track, if I want to take the sub out, the sub and the amp will be one big unit that clips to the side panel. You just unclip it, unplug one big plug, and then you take the whole thing out at once for a really clean install. Yeah, it needs a lot. It's fully wired for JDM 323 GTR power folding mirrors. So they're basically identical to Festiva Swoopies, but when you turn the car off, they also power fold themselves flat against the car. When you turn the key on, they unfold. I did all the wiring and the custom relays for that. I don't have them installed because the plastic caps and mirrors need paint matched to this color, so they're still waiting for me to paint match them when I get the whole car. Hopefully, either paint fixed or just repainted again. And we'll probably be switching over to the Rev 9s for this thing because the Rev 9s ride better than TVSG stuff does, and I can get it a little bit lower even than this, which I want to do. So we'll probably be gutting all of the current suspension, putting it on standby for future use, and switching over to Rev 9s. So it's another big project. Well, not big. I mean, I could do that in a day. I know how to do that pretty well. There's a whole lot of stuff on here that I've never done before. I've never made my own harness from scratch. I've never had to do an aftermarket ECU. I've helped Steven do basic tuning stuff with his. I've not helped him learn. He knew about it. I was the one learning and assisting where I could. Him driving and then me telling him what's going on and tip tapping the keyboard in the passenger seat. I helped give it a crackle tune. That's something I looked up, so I know how to do a pop and bangs tune. So I helped him do that with his cat still on his aqua car, just to be silly at the car meet. So that I have limited tuning information and knowledge. I've made small harnesses before or small patch stuff before. I've never made the complete harness. That's gonna be a whole massive job and a learning experience for myself, where I don't want to waste a bunch of money because all the parts to make a harness cost a lot. To buy 100 feet of mil spec heat shrink and to buy 10 feet of race grade wiring in 10 different colors, all the costs for the small stuff start to add up. And that's why it's taking so long. I've been collecting parts paycheck to paycheck for the past 5 years to collect everything you just saw me talk about in one big spot. Not to mention the transmission, the custom work we're doing for the sensor. We talked about that on the transmission stream the other day. But I'm running a Kia Rio trigger wheel. So we're customizing a transmission bell housing to have a crank sensor built into it to read the bumps on the flywheel to know where our crank position is. There's so much cool stuff happening. You can see from here, I have it converted to Uniwiper because that side broke. I like the look of it. I like the motorsports feel, just the one wiper in the middle. So I'm going to do some more custom metal work. So that way the wiper can sit flat on both sides and extend the clevis. So that way it wipes the full 170-degree sweep, just the one wiper. It'd be very cool. But once again, it's just more work, more small stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't really matter. If I were building a race car, I'd say, who cares? Just delete the wiper and run some Rain-X. But it's the small details like that that matter to me. So that's why this build's going to take forever, because I'm paying attention to every tiny detail, every little mod I've ever wanted to do, I'm doing to this car. And when I do it, I want to do it really well. I want it to be show car quality stuff when I'm done on a Festiva. And it's like the old saying goes, you can pick good, fast, or cheap. So I'm trying to make it really good. I'm trying to do it for pretty cheap, which means it's not going to be fast because I'm relying on myself. I'm not hiring people to come do this. I'm relying on myself and people I know, friends, Festiva people. So Steve has been helping me a lot with this build. I think Charlie's going to come out and help me with a lot of stuff on the exhaust side and some cool stainless work we'll be doing later. I'm really hoping to get John Glenn out here to help me with the engine bay stuff, both the metal work, shading it, and the paint of it, and maybe help me pull some dents. I mentioned the dented up roof earlier. Long term, or hopefully before the end of the build, hopefully before the end of next year, a year from now, the whole thing done before the end of 2025. I'm hoping to do a carbon fiber roof. So I actually have a complete roof skin from another Festiva I've cut out. It's in perfect shape. It's over in the yard right now. I want to be able to mold that whole roof and then, I guess, cast isn't a word, but make my own carbon fiber roof based on molds from that roof, and then be able to cut metal one out and panel bond carbon fiber roof skin onto this. I think that would be super awesome. But I've never done carbon fiber work. I've not even done fiberglass work. So teaching myself an entire new skill with no previous experience and no materials to test with, again, it's a huge undertaking. So, but it's stuff I want to do. And I think since we're now live streaming so often, I think it's an adventure a lot of you guys want to come along with. So most of this build will be on live stream because I'm not making guides for this stuff. There will not be a guide on how to build your own wiring harness from the ground up because I don't have time to do that and film it and talk about it and edit it. It's just way too much. It takes 17 years for me to film all of this. So instead, we'll be doing it on live stream. And that's why we switched over to this 4K camera. In case you haven't noticed, today you actually can go down to the settings and change this stream to 4K. See it in all its 4K glory. So in the future, if anybody has questions, I can always say, I don't have a guide video, but if you go back and watch this 3-hour-long stream, you can learn how I did it more or less. It won't be step by step, but it'll be a good overview of what I'm doing. So this new camera and the setup for the streams are going to help show you guys what I'm doing without making it a direct guide. I am still doing guide videos. Don't get it twisted. All the other stuff I'm doing, I'm still doing a B60 swap guide. It's not on this car. It's on the yellow car. That guide series is still being made. It's still coming out. I'm still doing a ton of Festiva how-to videos. I'm still going to show you guys a whole lot of maintenance stuff, a lot of other projects I'm working on.
Birds
Just not this one.
said, anyone going to make body kit pieces again? I seen some people come and go saying they're going to make hoods again.
Yeah, so I will not be molding parts for people. I can tell you that right now. Because, like you said, you see people come and go, it's hard. Everybody says how easy it is. Once you have the part, just mold it. Just make it from the mold. Like, why are people hoarding rare parts? Mold it and sell it. It's not that easy. Making a mold is not that easy. And then making fiberglass parts from that mold is also very not easy. It's a huge time-consuming process. It costs hundreds of hours, so it's a ton of labor. And then once you get it done, they're very difficult to ship, even already in the U.S. And it's just a battle I'm not going to take on. You'll see a lot of people try, and as you've noticed, a lot of people end up folding. At the end of the day, people say, "Where's my order?" Nothing ever gets delivered. It takes too long. It costs too much, and they give up. So yeah, it's very hard. That being said, I am completely willing to start 3D scanning these parts that I'm helping develop and making them a little more available to people, either available for free or like a small cost to make molds or whatever. But I'm getting GTX bumpers. I'm getting a GTX hood, not a fiberglass one, a real one. And from that, I can make true OE scans, and then we can use that data in the future to make like 3D printed molds maybe, or to do like more like the two robots tile formed metal parts. That's the sort of stuff I'm willing to do in the future. So I'm working on it. I don't have a timeline for you though. It's going to be a long time. I'm working on side skirts as well. I've got a great side skirt idea. I've already did a prototype of it. We'll be doing that to this car as well. I have some body kit stuff in mind. I've been working on a few different things in that regard. I hope to show some more of that as we go through this build. But that sort of stuff I am working on, but you won't see me making or selling fiberglass parts. It's just way too difficult. It's from a business perspective, unless you already have a fiberglass shop set up and ready to go, there is no way you can make any money or even break even on fiberglass stuff. It's difficult. That's basically all I wanted to cover, I think, on this stream. Because I just wanted to do like a JDMSTIVA intro video. Because I know there's a lot of people on the page who don't know what JDMSTIVA is. Obviously, like I said, it's been parked for 5 years. So there's so many new people who don't know the story of JDMSTIVA V1 or the epic build that V2 is / will be. So that's kind of like an outline of our goal, how we got here, and what we're going to do from this point on. So there's our 1 hour intro. What is JDMSTIVA, and what are the plans? What are some of the ideas we're working on? And there's actually a ton of stuff I'm sure I missed. I have a 4-page long Google Doc somewhere of all the ideas and things I want to implement on this build. Way too much for me to go over in one video, but hopefully you guys will be tuning in and seeing those as they happen. And with that, this winter, a lot of the channel content will be on live streams. So if you're not already subscribed,
Healer said, "Thanks, Will. See you next time." Waving hand.
Thank you, Ryle, for joining us. But yeah, if you guys want to see more stuff, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. That way you know when we go live. Because, like I said, we're still doing guide videos. Those are still coming. There's another one coming even this week. Actually, I think I have 2 videos releasing this week that are more long-form content. But if you want to see more on this build and some of the crazy cool projects we have coming up, and to see where all my prototypes, all my hard work in the background have been going to, that's not the store, it's going into this. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you can be here when we're live. You can follow along this build this winter and see a ton of cool stuff happening. It'll be totally worth it. And I'm going to give it a few extra seconds before I actually hit end on the stream. Since we're doing this in 4K, there's like a 30-second delay now between me talking and then you guys actually seeing what I'm saying. That's just part of 4K. That's why we didn't stream in 4K last week. I tried to, and then it kicked me out and said you can't do 4K and low latency chat. In order to do 4K, you have to have it on like normal mode, which is a good 30-second delay. So.
Healer said, "Bye, we'll see ya in a couple weeks."
Absolutely. We'll see you soon, Bill. I think that wraps it up. So, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. Stay subscribed. If you feel like you learned a lot and you want to help out the channel some, we actually now have 2 direct ways you can help support Sam Industries. And that is, A, through YouTube memberships. So, for $1.99, you get access to 4 cool custom emojis for the channel that you can put in chat, including my face, V2 itself, and Maverick's face, our puppy dog Maverick. You can spam Mavericks in the chat now. That's only $1.99 a month. And that helps us support us directly, which is fantastic. Or if you go on to Patreon, we actually have 2 tiers on patreon.com/Sam Ministries. But from our Patreon, you can subscribe for one of the tiers that just helps support us, basically. Or for the higher tier, which I think is like $14 a month, this year we'll be releasing a new t-shirt and some other Sam Industries-based merch. And if you are a $15 a month tier subscriber on Patreon, you get the merch for free. So free merch drop this year. And then hopefully we do some more other exclusive content for Patreon members. So like maybe do some cool 3D printed goodies that I haven't talked about or released on the store yet. We might make those Patreon supporter exclusive little knickknacks and stuff here and there. So definitely check us out there. But just being here, watching the streams, helps support us a bunch. So as always, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for supporting me, supporting the channel, and supporting the Festiva store and everything we do here. As always, hope to see you next time. See you.